So what are the pros and cons of down selects? Stick around, and tonight we're going to talk about it. Good evening, Agile acquisition enthusiasts, and welcome back to the Underground Digital Tiki Bar. It's Friday night, and that means it's time for another episode of Agile Acquisitions and Alcohol. So cheers. Okay, so we've seen a common trend coming out, especially in sort of the digital IT acquisitions involving down selection. I love them. I often will say that the amount of effort required from industry and the evaluators should be commensurate with the likelihood of each offer a chance to win, right? So when there's an N number of possible offers submitting proposals, you have no idea what your likelihood of success is, and asking a company to submit, a ton of paperwork and documentation, it's really too much, and I don't think that's the way we should do it. So I really like the idea of down selects, and down selects can involve usually some sort of like white paper up front, some form of code challenge or in-person interview, and then maybe a negotiation, sort of alpha negotiation style. And I think that's a great approach. And whether you use a tech challenge or in-person interviews, a lot of that will depend on the evaluation team and their ability to discern really good technical capability versus not so good, right? There's something to consider, when you're creating these. It's really good that you're lessening the burden on industry, but taking a 1 month, 30-day proposal process and chunking it up into 3 week and a half phases sounds good until you get to the point where a vendor doesn't know they're going to be doing the code challenge or the next phase until they're notified that they made it through phase one. And so now suddenly they have to spin up a team, within like a couple of days notice and, produce a technical solution, maybe in just like 7 days. And that's also burdensome to, especially small companies. They don't have people just sitting around waiting to work on projects like this. So we really need to be very clear about timelines. I think the phased approach is great. I just think we need to know our timelines and be very consistent with what we tell industry up front. That's the first big recommendation is let industry know the time. But the second one is anything you can give industry beforehand, even on a phased approach, give the draft documents, get it out in their hands so they can absorb it and come in and be really solid. You really want to try and give as much opportunity to all of the vendors, not just incumbent vendors to the agency or the specific incumbent vendor for that activity if it's a follow-on. You want to make sure that everybody has that same amount of information. Now, of course, an incumbent is always going to have a certain advantage based on what they know, but you want to make sure everybody has the same access to information. So it's been a real common trend, just for fun. Other common trends that maybe are starting to come out, or what I'd like to see come out more, are some more involved with the self-scoring, allowing industry to mark themselves and provide qualifications against certain criteria is another good one. But regardless which method you use, past experience as opposed to past performance is so important, and giving industry the ability to show where they've demonstrated success on similar activities as part of their technical solution is really a valuable tool for both industry and for the evaluators. And so to the degree we can standardize the questions that we ask around past experience, that will allow industry to sort of package these up and prepare ahead of time to provide their sort of case studies, for lack of a better term, of their experiences. And then, that can just be sort of like a reusable feature in acquisitions as they go forward. And that, that helps everyone. So there you have it, the down select process, some good and bads about it, and some other trends that I'm starting to see in acquisitions. So, all right. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, remember, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos, please put them in the comments below. And until next week, cheers.